Now, as I'm practicing it in the executing it in the outside world, right? Then, it's great opportunities to learn new stuff, and if I have questions or problems, I return to the AA program, you know, and I bounce it off people. This is what I did. Did I act right or wrong? Or, I put a degree to it, I guess. You know, I'll call my sponsor. Hey, man, this just happened. This is what I did. What are your thoughts? What does the book say? So on and so forth. So I will depend upon all these other things, right? Because I'm still learning how to live a sober life. I don't know how to. I have good ideas on how to, but I can't definitively say, yes, that's how a sober life is lived. I still have to retreat or escape to AA. And I'm not the only one. There were people that had 20 years of sobriety plus. And when we had the lockdown, they were doing the Zoom meetings. One was even married to somebody in the program, so you could have a meeting whenever you want. But when they first opened our meeting house up to having meetings, we all sat outside at the picnic tables, and we brought lawn chairs, and we're like spread out all over the parking lot to have a meeting, right? And somebody with 20 years, somebody who I highly respect, a big book thumper, said he's so glad they finally opened it up because he was about to go out. Oh my God, that impacted me hard because there was no cure. He has not received it over time. And he was actually relieved that we were finally able to get together and get back to the addiction. And that's pretty much the way it is all around. When you have a newcomer, and they stick around, those one-chip wonders, and you're like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome. Let's say they get sober 5 years, whatever, and then something in life wonderful happens to them, and so now they're engaging in life, which is what the book tells us to do. We're not to retreat from life or to engage in it. We're supposed to make this part of our life, just part of it, not all of it. And, but then, I'm a real alcoholic. So there's no such thing as a happy middle ground. I'm either going to do this or I'm going to do that. One extreme or the other. And it's all or nothing kind of thing. I just didn't drink half a beer. I drank mine and I drank yours. And then, I'd get more, of course, because that's the right thing to do. But it's always about the extremes and not understanding that there's the potential for a middle ground. And that's what I'm learning now, and what I've been working on for the past couple months is trying to find out where's this middle ground. An example of that. So somebody, they start deviating from the program, right? They're not hitting meetings like they used to. They're not calling people like they used to. And then poof, you don't see them. And then when you do see them, hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Did you move or something? No, I went back out. Because I quit going to meetings is what 99.99999% of the time, that's what happens. I quit going to meetings. That's the process. That's the addiction. It doesn't matter where they were on the steps. If they worked all of them, it didn't matter that for the first 2 months that they were out there, it's like, yeah, I'm good. Wake up in the morning, do my prayers, and, I try to help others and everything, and I read the book by myself, and I have no contact with anybody else in the program. So there's that dependency, Then they come back and they get in a desire trip, and usually with that, there's a lot of the feelings of failure involved with that. I didn't get it right. I'm not going to be a one-chip wonder. I can't ever be a one-chip wonder. I have guilt. I have shame. When I walk in the door, people are going to look at me. They're going to say, well, you were working a crappy program. You weren't doing the right thing anyways. And they shovel on the guilt. That's very rare. But in my head, oh my God, They're looking at me and laughing and pointing fingers and talking about my mama and everything else, you know. But I've seen almost consistently across the board, we're glad you made it back. Welcome home. We're glad you're here. Let's work. And, but I can't distinguish the true from the false once I've been drinking. I find that sometimes when I'm sober, I cannot distinguish the true from the false. And I need others to help me. Now in the bar, oh man, yeah. They can help me see the true from the false. Everything's true unless it's false. And they are more willing to agree with me on anything and everything. If not, we fight. That's simple. There's no growth. Now, this thing about tolerance. I know it says in the big book, love and tolerance is our code. I love intolerance. I don't like other people's stuff. I don't tolerate it. And I had somebody approach me once and says, well, that's not what it says. I love intolerance. And I had to think about it. And somebody asked me about, they were running into a problem, and their problem was the difference between tolerance and acceptance. And the way I had to explain it so that I could understand it and I could believe it, it falls in line with the book. And but it makes more sense to me is, if, let's say that I'm dating somebody. I'm not, but let's just say that I accidentally happen to get a girlfriend, and we start dating. And I plan on our anniversary. I'm going to dress nice, and I've got expensive tickets to this restaurant, reservations, and, we're going to have all this stuff and flowers and a guy with a violin and all this stuff. And I've made this image in my head, right? The expectation. And in the table next to me is a little kid running around whose parents won't stop it, and he's yelling and he's screaming and crying and having a fit. Well, what's my take on it? I'm going to have a good time no matter what. Damn that kid. You and me, we're going to enjoy this damn meal and blah, 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 right? That's tolerance. It was never about the meal. It was about me having time with somebody that I cared about. Acceptance is when I say, why don't we go get like some Jack in the Box burgers and go bowling and, then go fishing. So I think love and acceptance is my code. When coming to, the pitfalls from it, I got addicted to the oxytocin quite a while ago. And the dopamine's not really my friend anymore. And I don't even want it. We did talk about the other day with the people that have extra long-term sobriety and they are just straight up jerks. Well, let me put this into a process addiction kind of way. When they got sober 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, 50, there was a different mindset in AA altogether. So now we have all these new people coming in. And they're like, okay, so, I'm not really a fan of this or that. And, is there any way we could do worksheets instead of doing what the book says? Because I can get those better. And things of that nature. Well, the old timer's like, no, we're going to do it this way. Because this is the way to do it. This is what I did. This is what everybody's done. And you're going to do it. There's change. And we hate change. So with that is the oxytocin isn't doing what it did before. And I'm not getting the feelings that I got before, from AA. It saved my life and I'm grateful for it, but it's not doing it anymore. I've now developed a high tolerance to recovery, that I need more and more, and I'm not getting what I used to get. Well, what does an alcoholic and addict do when things aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing or what's expected? We go back out. There's people, and I know people with long-term sobriety who went back out You know, it's not like they didn't know that this stuff could kill them. It's not that they didn't know that once you start, it's hard as hell to stop. They did. It's not that they can say that, well, I didn't know that the pitfalls were going to be this way. You know, none of that stuff. It just happened. You know, but we pick up where we left off. And if the legend that, the addiction's outside doing push-ups, waiting for me to slip, imagine 50 years of push-ups. And then having to swallow your pride. Because that's what it says, which the process requires for its successful confirmation. What if, their pride is saying, man, if you go back in there with 50 years sobriety, you cannot pick up a desire chip. These people will die.